losing motivation to work at your job, right? And you're not alone if that is the case, because many people are kind of becoming disillusioned with the workplace, the corporate environment, or other office jobs, other jobs in general, because people are working hard and they're seeing their quality of life decline significantly due to high taxes, which are misspent, due to lack of career progression, a lack of extra job opportunities, the inflation rate, all types of factors that are creating quite disillusioned people. So let's listen to a couple examples of this and see what we can learn to benefit our own lives.
Real fast, okay?
Help y'all. I feel like I'm losing motivation with things in life. Like, I remember being this very goal-driven girl. This girl that would make a vision board, and I truly believe that the things that I put on my vision board that I think that would make me happy, I could obtain. Lately, I'm just feeling like, is this whole thing a fluke? When I want a certain type of job, I get that job, and that job is shitty. When I want a certain type of relationship, I get that man, and the man is shitty.
Ain't nothing good.
A certain type of
So this is quite interesting, right? Because I think this is a broader experience that many people are having across Gen Z, the Zoomers, the Millennials, and to a certain extent Gen X, and a much lesser extent the Boomers, because they kind of set up with the high rate of pensions, you know, kind of funding their lifestyle. So many people in other generations are seeing this social and economic dysfunction, right? They're losing motivation to work. There's not much reward for working hard. You might as well, you know, set lower expectations in life because things are not working out the way they should. You can't even have some of the basic life expectations that you'd normally be able to have, whether it's, you know, having a family, having a normal, healthy community, things like that. People are quite isolated. They don't really have the social dynamics they used to have. Part of this, as a side note, could be said about the standards of women and kind of not realizing that, you know, what does she particularly bring to the table if she's complaining about men? And I've also noticed the standards for everything is dropping with the way people dress. You can see the roads, lots of potholes in the roads, kind of janky infrastructure, public transport, the New York Metro, to a certain extent the travel links in London, where I live, is kind of, you know, all over the place. You notice a lot of co-workers are slacking because they realize what's the point of working hard, probably won't get promoted, could be up for a layoff at any moment. You also notice smaller things like in the grocery stores, the taste of food kind of be lower quality. You notice everything to save money, these companies to save money and maximize their profit, and perhaps due to inflation and costs like that, everything's becoming lower quality. And then you start picking up on these things, higher price and lower quality. You're paying first world prices to have a third world lifestyle, right? You normally expect lower quality of government services and infrastructure in a third world country, but you're in a first world country in the West, in, you know, Europe, Canada, America, UK, Australia, places like that. You think if you're working that hard, if you're working that hard, you're in a developed country, you wouldn't have these low kind of quality of life experiences, which many people are having. And the system is expecting a high effort from you, but it's giving you low effort. Not only is your government wasting your money, so you're getting little for all the high taxes you're paying, but also, you know, going to work hard for a job and you're not really getting much back from it. So it's like, why you lose motivation for working hard? You might as well go from a top corporate job to an average job, because who cares at the end of the day? You could be laid off at any moment. There's lack of job security and things like that. So we're also going to look into another example of people who are getting a bit depressed in their day-to-day life in terms of their 9-to-5 sucking their soul away. And this will really explain why many people, such as people watching this, myself at certain times in my career, they kind of feel their 9-to-5 is sucking their soul away. So let's listen to this.
People make some bold claims. But one day when I was working at this building, a man actually jumped off the top of that roof. I believe it's 23 floors. So that's kind of a metaphor for how people are feeling.
So he gives this example of someone jumping off a building because they were depressed of their 9-to-5 sucking their soul away. Now, of course, I wouldn't recommend anyone jump off their building. If you're not feeling happy in your career, rather than jumping off a building, reach out to me for career advice. I have a link in description and I can help you with your career. If you're new to the channel, I've been working for over 10 years at some of these companies, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley in finance, investment banking, corporate careers, things like that. I can help with you with providing some advice. Now, the key point here is he mentions people jumping off the buildings, right? Because they're sick of their day job and halfway through the job, they jump off. I know a lot of you probably think, you know, bankers or people in the finance industry, they're well paid, and being well paid should make up for the stress that they're dealing with. But it actually doesn't make up for it. And there is a trend that shows this is quite a common pattern, jumping off buildings, as crazy as it sounds. So and this is something I'd always hear throughout my time working in the finance industry. Firstly, here in 2014, we have an example of a JP Morgan banker who had jumped off a building in the business district of London called Canary Wharf, where I have worked for several years. And I remember working in an office nearby and seeing the commotion of the police and things like that. So this guy got depressed of his corporate job and he ended up ending his life. Then there's another example in 2024 of a 30-year-old female investment banker, I believe it was in Asia, who, ended their life also. Then you have another example of a financier, 46, in New York, who had jumped off another building. Then you have a Wells Fargo employee who had jumped off a building. Then you have another banker who'd jumped off a rooftop. So there is a pattern here, right? This is in 2013. This other case is 2023. Then we got 2023 again. Then we got 2024. And the first one is 2014. So there's a common pattern here. I've got 5 examples there of people jumping off buildings because they get sick of their job. Now, there's something to really bear in mind. Like, when you do pick a job, it's obviously not worth your life. And if you're unhappy in your job, finding a different solution. If you're dealing with work stress, if you're disillusioned with work, you've got to plan ahead, because many people that are probably watching this, you might be in your early 20s or mid 20s, and you might kind of be watching this thinking, okay, well, as an example, has worked at some of these top companies. Why am I giving you all these warning signs of how to prepare for your career and prepare for your freedom? You might be very enthusiastic and think, the company's going to look out for your best interest, and if you work hard, it'll pay off and things like that. I'm trying to give you honest advice that, a company that's trying to get you to drink the corporate Kool-Aid and not see reality for what it is I'm trying to help you see through all those illusions, because you're going to be sold so many lies and illusions by recruiters, this and that. You need to focus on the number one goal for you when it comes to work, which is your financial freedom. And that's really it. Having a fancy job title is not going to take away the misery of the mundane nature of the job or the anxiety and depression that can come with a job when it comes to not being able to trust co-workers, your manager, having a high interest rate mortgage that you have to pay off with your salary, struggling with living costs because you have to pursue a particular lifestyle for your social status. These are all the things, you can't really make up for it with a fancy corporate job. You have to look at things realistically and the reality of it over the long term and try to see how you can work towards your freedom, because that's the only thing that will motivate you. Speaking of losing motivation, right? The thing that will motivate you most in life is your freedom, living life on your terms. So not being motivated by a fancy job title, working for a particular company, that's what you need to bear in mind and look out for. So there's a few other key points here that we should definitely consider.
The system's broken. The way we've been doing things just is not working. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people just exiting this completely. And what's going to happen is they're just going to keep cycling through new people every year. Customer service is going to keep getting.
So he's got a point here that the system is broken. It's not broken for the very rich, and in many ways it's not broken for the people who can live on government handouts, right? Food stamps, government benefits. For some reason in the West, I understand looking out for people who are struggling, but there's millions of people often who are just living on unemployment benefit, living on government housing, and they're living comfortable lives and not doing much work. And this is the type of thing where the middle class is getting squeezed. They have to pay a high tax rate because those super rich are not paying their tax because they can, move their money offshore. And then you've got people who are stuck in their middle class who have to make up for that high income. They have to make up for that tax rate. Then you've got people in the lower class who live off the middle class through the government taxes that pay for their government handouts. So it's the middle class that's getting squeezed. More and more people will drop out. Some will opt for lower cost of living, lower effort lifestyle, van life, more freedom. Some people will live off the grid. Some people will just make major life sacrifices. And what I mean by that is just being like, okay, cool. Many people, you could assume, will just opt to be single for their whole life. And they'll maybe work their corporate job, invest as much as they can, and as quick as they can, pay off their mortgage maybe on a 1-bedroom apartment, and then live life as a single person their whole life without family or community and things like that. It might sound crazy or depressing, but many people are like, what's the point of playing along with society, whether it's the corporate world or the social world, because it's not really paying off in many ways for many people.
I made a vow to myself a long time ago, and honestly, I made my life really hard at one point because there were so many opportunities that I said no to. I'm going to end on this note. This is how fucking nuts I am. I turned down a 6-figure sales job at a corporate office. I have no experience because the owner of the company loved me so much. I get it. I'm a great communicator. I understand that. I'm making money. exactly what this guy thinks I should be making money doing. I'm just doing it in another way. I'm not shelling out some product. I'm just shelling out information, and hopefully you laugh a little bit. Sometimes I get a little too serious, but it's okay. Sometimes shit gets real. But I turned that job down because of no, I'm not doing it.
So this is an important example. If you are losing motivation to do your job, like many people are, you need to consider, if you really want to pursue your path, whatever that is, maybe it's working as a freelancer, living abroad, whether it's pursuing a more low-cost lifestyle. These are all the things I can advise on in my career advice service. The link's in description. But coming back to this, you need to kind of understand, are you willing to, in the short term, maybe for 3 to 5 years, are you willing to make your life harder and opt away from that corporate slave job to do what you want in life? And some people aren't, if we're honest. Some people are like, oh, that's too much stress, too much risk. But I would recommend, rather than live a boring, miserable, average life, which is increasingly lacking the stability that you used to offer, the 9-to-5 stability isn't there because of the layoffs and things like that, is that you work hard and you try to find an exit plan. There's something I can help with. So really think it through. I would say you only got to live one life, unless you believe in reincarnation and things like that. But you only got one life, and you should kind of think about, how can you make the best of it? Even though you're dealing with this rigged system, corrupt corporations, fair treatment from government or society or community kind of lacking from lending a helping hand to you. If you have to make your life as an individual the best you can, you have to plan an exit plan and maybe have a 3 to 5 year plan to exit that job, to live a life you actually want to live rather than just a safe option, which would be a corporate job. And a couple of key points here, right? When you pick a career, you pick a lifestyle. And that's something to bear in mind. If you're picking a corporate office job, maybe in, corporate America, in an investment bank, things like that, your lifestyle is going to revolve around that job because the hours will be long, and the people you work with, they'll expect you to have your social life revolve around co-workers. Next thing is you need to figure out what you want and build skills around that. Like if you want a particular lifestyle where maybe you can work from home, then you have to build skills that will allow you to have an income where you can work from a laptop and not be in an office, whether that's being a freelancer or something like that. You need to make sure you can do it remotely if that's what interests you, and make sure you develop a skill where you can do it independently of a major corporation, so you can earn an income without a major corporation dictating, oh, you have to wear a suit and a tie and sit in an office 5 days a week, even though you kind of don't need to and you can do it from home. So you need to be careful about what type of skills you're developing and how the skills you develop link to the lifestyle you want. No point having, a generic finance career and you can't really do it on an independent basis. You'd have to be working in a major corporation as a small cog in a machine to earn an income. So you need to really think ahead about what you're developing. And as well as developing your skills, you need to think about how can you market your skills and sell your skills in a way to all types of companies out there, big and small, so you can work on a freelance or contractor basis. So those are just some thoughts for you to consider. A lot of people just want some easy 9 to 5 and then they lose motivation for it, which is quite common with lots of people. You need to plan ahead. If you want your freedom, you're going to have to work for your freedom. Freedom isn't free, and it does come with a lot of difficult lifestyle changes and risks, and planning ahead for dealing with that instability of income that can come if you are working for yourself. So those are all things that I'd advise of you if you are interested in stepping away from a job you're losing motivation to work in. And loads of people are losing motivation, so I wouldn't say you're alone. So don't feel like you're the only one who's disillusioned, because a lot of times when you're in the office and you're at work, everyone's putting on a fake character, and if you're letting the mask slip, the mask you're wearing, a fake character you got to play in the office, if the mask slips too much, people will go, oh, you're not motivated to work, maybe we should put you up for a layoff and things like that and get you fired from the company. So what you need to do is bear in mind, a lot of people who are putting on their mask in the office probably are unhappy in their job too. You're not the only one, so don't feel so isolated, and that's the purpose of this video, to help share with you many other people are feeling the same way you are. So thanks for listening. As I say, if you want to speak with me, the link's in description. There are 2 recommended videos on the screen right now, and I'll speak to you next time.